I got no switch off button when it comes to thinking of you. I got no switch.
Good morning. It's Friday and I'm making some challah. First thing I'm doing this morning, which I'm really excited, get my day started off on the right foot, doing something productive. Yeah, so I thought I'd take you guys along with me. Challah is a pretty popular bread. I mean, we eat it almost every week for our Shabbat meals, but it's also something that a lot of other people buy and make. But if you've never heard of it, it's just a braided loaf. It's typically considered a sweet bread because it does have sugar in it, but it's not too sweet. So I'm gonna go along and make this recipe with you guys. I'm specifically making a water challah, so no eggs, which is great. Let's go ahead and get going on this. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is take your flour. Mine is already sifted, so if you haven't done that, do that. This is 2¼ cups of flour. And then I'm gonna add the rest of my dry ingredients to this mix. So that means for me, that's a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then I have a 1/2 tablespoon of instant yeast. So a lot of recipes call for dry active yeast, or maybe that's the only thing you have in your house. It's most commonly sold at most grocery stores, but I have instant yeast here. The instant yeast is just dried in a different way when it's produced, so they can be interchanged 1-to-1. So I have 1/2 tablespoon here. You can also use 1/2 tablespoon of dry active yeast. The big difference between these two things is I can add this directly into my dry ingredients without having to let it proof in water first. So if you have dry active yeast, I would put that into our water mixture that we're gonna put into the dry ingredients in a little bit. If you have dry active yeast, put that into the water, which is 3/4 cups of warm water. If you're using dry active yeast, put that in there, probably with also like a teaspoon of sugar, because that helps activate the dry active yeast, and let that sit for like 10 minutes. If you're using the instant yeast like I have, I'm just gonna go ahead and drop this into my dry ingredients. So the other difference between instant yeast and dry active yeast is that the instant yeast, it proofs faster, rises faster. So if you're using instant yeast, your rise time is going to be probably 10 to 15 minutes faster than if you're gonna use dry active yeast. So I've got all my dry ingredients. I'm gonna go ahead and mix this all up, get everything incorporated. I'm gonna make a mess. All right, good thing I got my apron on. So, excuse me. Now that all of the dry ingredients are incorporated, I'm going to go ahead and make a well in the middle of my bowl, and that's where I'm going to pour in my wet ingredients. By the way, how stinking cute is the packaging for my instant yeast? Like, look at those colors and the adorable illustration. Obsessed, so cute. Okay, so back to what I was doing. So I'm gonna make a little well in the center of my bowl. This is a good time to take off any jewelry you're wearing because you're about to knead everything together. I'm gonna go ahead and take off my rings. Okay, so like I said before, there's 3/4 cup of water that I'm gonna go ahead and pour in here. And then I'm also adding And I'm also adding a 1/4 cup of canola oil. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just go in with my hands and start kneading it together. You want it to get to a point where it's all combined and not so sticky anymore. Okay, so I have a beautiful little ball of dough. He's so cute. Oh, and his little cheeks. I went ahead and kneaded this for about 10 minutes. You want to make sure that the dough gets nice and smooth. So starts in the bowl, get everything incorporated, make sure it's like less sticky, and then I took it out of the bowl, sprinkled my surface, my working surface with flour, and then started kneading there. Like I said, I kneaded for about 10 minutes. Now he's nice and smooth and all incorporated. And now what I'm gonna do is I took the bowl that I had mixed all my dry ingredients in and I cleaned that out. Now I'm just going to place my little dough boy into his bowl, and then I am going to take some more canola oil, probably a tablespoon, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this right over my little dough ball inside of his bowl. Nice. Sprinkle all over, and then I'm gonna cover this. You can use saran wrap. Because I don't like waste in plastic, like to take a damp dish towel and just set it over the top of the bowl. And then we're just gonna leave this in a warm place. I usually pick like a sunny windowsill and set it down. It needs to rise for about an hour and a half, and then we'll come back to it and knead it again, and then braid her up. So it's been an hour and a half. I'm ready to check out my dough. Let's see what it looks like. Dun, da, da, da. Very nice. So it is doubled in size, which is exactly what we want. I'm gonna go ahead and punch this down, and then I will take it out and spread it out on my work surface. I'll put some flour down and then knead it again and then separate it for braiding.
I got no switch off button when it comes to thinking of you. I got no switch off button. What to do is like my brain's been brought down. I'm only thinking of you. It's like my brain's been.
We're not making pizza. So we've got our dough. I kneaded it for another minute or two just to get everything nice and incorporated. Spread out some flour on the surface and on top of the dough just to make sure all that extra oil got absorbed into our mixture. So now we've got our nice little dough ball again. We're going to now separate these and braid them. So Jason and I only need 3 portions of bread. So I'm gonna make one, and each of these are gonna be very small. So one little braided loaf and then probably like 2 rolls to go with it. So now I'm gonna separate this with a knife, roll our little pieces out and braid it up. Here are our challahs. We've got one little one and then 2 tiny little knotted rolls. For the portions and the ingredients that I made in this video, it could have made one regular size loaf, but since it's just Jason and I for dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow, I decided I would just make one loaf and stretch it out into 3 portions, because trying not to eat a ton of bread would be a good idea. So I just put them on a parchment lined baking sheet. Make sure to give them space because they will continue to puff up in the oven, and you want to make sure that they're not stuck to each other. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick these in the oven and take them out in about 30 minutes. Bye guys. Okay, so I just put my challahs in the oven. They went in at 350. I'm gonna keep them in there for about 30 minutes. I'll just keep an eye on them. I do not put any sort of wash on the top of mine because I don't want to do egg wash, obviously. You can do oil if you want, but because I'm not putting a coating on top, you have to watch them a little bit more closely because the coating is a good way to tell when it's done because it gets nice and golden brown. But these will still brown up a little bit. But another good way to check is after the 30 minutes, you can take them out and just kind of check the bottoms to see if they sound hollow when you tap on it. So I guess I'll check in with you guys in 30 minutes after I take them out of the oven. Show you what they look like. Look, my cute little dough balls are now cute little dough rolls. These turned out great. They smell so good. One almost fell on the floor. That would have been so sad. Time to show you guys the big loaf. Here we go. It's really not that small. I thought like this one loaf recipe broken into 2 rolls and 1 loaf was gonna make this loaf a lot smaller, but this is still like as big as my head. So that's gonna be plenty of bread for us. But yeah, they came out nice and golden brown right at about, I did take them out, that's not true. About with 5 minutes left, I turned the baking sheet around just because I noticed that the back of the challah roll and one of the rolls was getting a little more brown than the front of the challah and the other roll. So when there was 5 minutes left, I switched them around. You could probably do it a little bit earlier just to make sure that they cook evenly. Also depends on your oven. But anyway, I'm really excited about these. I can't wait to have them for dinner and lunch tomorrow. If you have any questions about making challah or how to braid it or how to braid it differently, because there's different ways to do it, feel free to hit me up in the comments down below. That's all for now. Thanks for following along. I'll see you guys next time.